Hey y'all, welcome back to another Finance Friday. Today, I'm going to go over our 2025 spending summary. I track all of my numbers, everything I spend, everything I save, everything I invest, and everything I make. So I have lots of data and I love putting that data into a spreadsheet. And I also love seeing what it looks like visually. So I've got a couple of charts that I want to show you all. But I'm so excited to do this video because it's already a couple of weeks into January and I haven't really been able to do a reflection on the end of December because of being sick at the end of December. So I'm excited to do that with you all today. I've got my numbers up and I'll be sharing them on the screen with you all. And just before we get into it, if you are new here, hi, my name is Brooke and I am 29 years old. I live in North Carolina with my husband and I like to do personal finance videos on my channel as well as lifestyle vlogs. So if you like that kind of stuff, please make sure to subscribe. My goal is to get to 400 subscribers by the end of January. So if you subscribe, I would be so happy if you like my video. And as I go through my numbers, I just want to make sure that you all know that these numbers are not to boast or anything like that. This is just my own personal finances, and your finances may look different for you, and that's totally okay. My husband and I do combine our finances, so all of these numbers are going to be relevant to the fact that we are a dual income household with no children. Additionally, our expenses are fairly low, so we have quite a bit of buffer when it comes to being able to save and invest. So just keep that in mind as we go throughout this video. I don't want to make this video to boast. I am in a very privileged position, and I'm so grateful for having a full-time job with benefits, and my husband has a full-time job with benefits, and we have had pretty stable income over the past few years. We haven't had any layoffs or anything like that. So I know that I'm coming from a very privileged place. That's why I always want to make sure that we're giving back to our community, donating to different causes that we care about. So I just wanted to bring that up before we get into the numbers because I just wanted to make sure everybody understands where I'm coming from. I believe in financial transparency, and these are just my numbers. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the numbers. So to see my numbers in context of how I usually see my numbers, I took my monthly spreadsheet and I just copied it over, and all of these numbers I went through my spreadsheets and I added them up so that all of these numbers are reflective of the 12-month spending period. And so now we're just going to go over the big buckets overall and look at those numbers. Starting off with our income, all of these numbers that you see here are post-tax and post-retirement. So this is all of the money that hits our accounts after 401k contributions, after paying for healthcare, our HSA contributions. So this is just the money that hits our bank accounts. For my husband's pay, we expected him to bring about $61,000 in net income, and he actually brought in $65,000, and that is because he got a raise. He got 2 raises actually last year, which was really exciting because he is an engineer, and so he got his engineering license, and after he got his license, he got another raise on top of the raise that he'd already gotten for just the annual raise that they do at his company. So that means he brought in an extra $4,000, which is so exciting. I'm very proud of him for doing that because taking that next step of getting his professional engineer license is a very hard thing. You have to take multiple exams and you have to fill out applications. There's a lot going on there. So I'm very proud of him, and we actually made a little bit more than I was expecting from his income. That's awesome. So for mine, we just expected me to net out $58,000. This is because my healthcare costs are more expensive. So my company, I have an individual healthcare plan with them, and I do have to pay for my healthcare monthly, whereas my husband's company covers it 100% for him, so he doesn't have to pay that. Also, I pay for our dental as well through my company. And so all of that is taken out of my account before it goes to our bank account. And additionally, I do set aside a little bit extra into my 401k because my 401k has a Roth 401k part of it. And so I do set aside some money into that Roth 401k position, and that is post-tax money. So I don't get any tax benefits for putting money into a Roth 401k. But when I go to take it out in retirement, just like with my Roth IRA, I can take that money out tax free. So that's why my expected income was a little bit lower. And I also got a raise last year, which is so exciting. We both got pretty nice raises last year, which again, I'm very grateful for. I'm not trying to boast. I'm just so proud of how hard we have worked. And I actually brought in $61,259, which means that I brought in a little bit over $3,000 than I expected. In our other income, last year I did work a second job. I was an adjunct professor, and so I taught one class, and this was how much I got paid for that. So I knew that I was going to get paid for that class, and so that's why I had that expected income there on my spreadsheet. But we brought in over double what I expected, and this was from a myriad of things. My husband got a work bonus. I got a couple of ESPP buyback stuff, and it's just like, I know that's crazy number. We brought in that much extra income. We also had some of this be from our Ally high yield savings account. So I always have my Ally savings account referral link, and if you sign up for it, I get a little kickback. I get $50 per person who signs up. And so some of this money was actually that. And I really appreciated everyone who used that last year because that was just so sweet. And it was just always so fun to see that little $50 show up in my Ally high yield savings account. So again, I'm not asking anybody to do that. But if you are looking for a high yield savings account, definitely check out Ally. I love them. I've been with them for literally 8 years, I think 9 years maybe. So since 2017, oh my gosh, it's 2026. So yeah, almost 9 years I've been with Ally. I've really enjoyed them. I've had no issues with them. They have a really good app, great customer service. So this is not sponsored by them, but I do have my referral link always down below in the description box if you are looking to go to a new high yield savings account or if you need to open one. I definitely recommend everyone should have their own high yield savings account because you're going to get such a better interest rate on your money than if you put it into a traditional brick and mortar. All that to say, we brought in an extra $6,356 that I had not planned for, which is really exciting, and I'm very happy about that. In terms of our rollover, I think here what I did was I just assumed that we usually have about $150 left over per month. So I just multiplied that by 12, and that's how I got that $1,800. And then the actual rollover amount that we had was actually $1,839. So I was actually pretty spot on with that guess. In terms of our interest, I thought that we would have $100 of interest per month coming in from our high yield savings account, but it was actually just a little bit lower. And I think that might be because the Ally interest rate did go down throughout the year, but we did put more into it. So as we put more into it throughout the year, we did get more interest per month, but it still didn't add up to $100 consistently per month, which is totally fine. We made over 14,000 extra dollars that I was not accounting for, which is really great. That extra money all went to our goals, and we were able to do a lot with that. So I'm really proud of us for making over $14,000 extra of income. I do try to be conservative with my income numbers. I try to go off the lower number so that I'm not overinflating our budget. But again, I was not expecting to make $12,000 of extra income. I was only expecting to make about $6,000 from my job. So that was a really nice, unexpected surprise. Now let's go to the bill summary. So for our mortgage, we did have our mortgage go up in the past year because we had more that needed to go into escrow every month. And so I budgeted $13,000, and that was pretty spot on. We were under by $1. Our Wi-Fi is through Google Fiber, and Google Fiber is so nice. They don't ever change the price. Like, they have had this same price since I started using Google Fiber back in 2023, and that is $70 a month. I'm happy with it, and I don't really care to change. So $70 a month, and that's how much I'm paying for my internet. I think that's great. It's fiber, so it's really fast. I have no issues with my internet speeds at all. For water, I tried to budget $50 a month, so that turned out to be $600. But in actuality, we only spent $521 on water over 2025. So that actually meant that we saved $78. So also happy about that was under my original budget. For electric, so we did budget billing, but when you do budget billing, at the end of your 12 months, they look at how much you've actually used of your energy, and they charge you basically for all of that extra energy that you did not pay for throughout your budget billing. So that's why this number is way over. So we had about $216 that we had to pay extra in the month of December to catch up with how much energy we've used. I'm trying to get this down. We did go and do budget billing again, and they did recalculate it to be $112 a month for the calendar year of 2026. But I'm not 100% sure if that will even be enough, but I'm hopeful that it will be. We have been trying to do things to lower our energy bills. So, one of the things that we did was we wrapped our hot water heater. Our hot water heater is actually in our crawl space, which is not an insulated place. We bought some insulation for our hot water heater and we went ahead and wrapped it. So, hopefully, that will help because when I looked at my bill, I could see that our hot water heater was one of the things that was using up the most energy. So, wrapping our hot water heater hopefully means that we will be able to save a little bit on our electric bill. Our phone bill, we have Visible, and it is $25 a month per line, and so that's $50 in total. It's their unlimited plan. I have had no problems with it. They use Verizon towers. And we actually only spent $585, so we saved $15. I think some of this was some promo credits that I got. So I also have a link to Visible down below. I know this is not trying to be an ad. I'm not trying to be an ad, but if you're looking for a low cost provider that does all unlimited for $25 a month, you can't really beat them. And you can even pay now. They started doing it where you can pay for an annual plan and save even more money. I haven't changed over to the paying for the annual plan yet. I might look into it, not 100% sure. But if you sign up for it, I get money off of my month. You also get $20 off your first month if you sign up with my code down below. In our security, this is for our home security, Simply Safe, and it was originally $31.99, and then it went up to $32.99 halfway through the year, I think sometime. I don't remember when it did, but that's why this is over by $4. Our pest control, this one also was kind of hard to calculate because we went with a different pest service halfway through the year, and previously we were doing one where we would only pay quarterly. It wasn't a service that was always happening. And then we changed to a service where they come out on a much more frequent basis and they also charge us monthly for it. It is a little bit more expensive, but I haven't had any issues with it. I haven't seen any cockroaches in our house, which is the big thing that we had an issue with. Even if I put out all the traps, made sure that everything was super clean, we still had those issues. So we decided to call in the pest control people to just deal with that. And that's been well worth our money. And even based on my budget, we were only over by $32, which is not too bad. And then in miscellaneous bills, this $556 was just our escrow shortage that we had to pay in December. That means we were negative $716.88 in our bills, but not too bad because we had a lot of extra income coming in. Next up, let's look at our expenses. So these are our expenses that we know we're going to spend every month, but they do fluctuate, so they're not always going to be the same as our bills, which is why I put them in our expenses. So our biggest expense is our groceries and our household, and I budgeted $650 each month for this, and so that was a total of $7,800, but we actually only spent $73.93. So I'm actually really surprised that we were under this, and because of that, I actually recalculated how much to put in our groceries category for the year of 2026. We've been doing really well with staying in budget, even with the price of things going up, because we have been shopping more at Aldi. We've been trying to make sure that we eat everything up and all that good stuff. And I'm really proud of us for staying under budget with that. In gas and transportation, I budgeted $185 per month, but we spent over here only $127 over. And this is because there are different times throughout the year that we are driving more. If we're going to go visit our families or anything like that, we do have to spend more to do that. And we also put in, I think, our oil changes in here, and so we have to pay our oil changes out of pocket every so often. So, I'm not really upset with that. $127 over the course of a year is not too bad. In terms of our therapy, this one was really hard to also calculate. I was thinking that we would go to couples counseling every month of the year, but we did not. We definitely did not. So we didn't spend as much as I thought. We only ended up spending, I think, $550 in our gyms and subs. I budgeted $1,956. I do get a $300 credit each year for my gym membership. So I also subtracted that out of the original number, and we only ended up spending $1,900. In terms of our spending, so we each get the same amount of spending every month, $175, and both of us went over our spending, but that's okay. And we're trying to make sure that we are not only saving, but we're also spending and spending in ways that bring us joy. So I'm not too pressed about that. Like, it's not crazy in the grand scheme of things, and we also were never in a place where I thought that we needed to pull back our personal spending. In our guilt-free spending, I budgeted around $545 each month, but we actually were under here as well, which was very surprising. And I think the reason why we were under here is because of our sinking funds. And you will see in the next section that we spent a lot of money out of our sinking funds this year, but that's what they're for. The sinking funds are there so we can spend them. So I'm happy about that. But that meant that we had about $493 left. And honestly, that basically almost covered all of this deficit here. So, like, in terms of our overall guilt-free spending categories, we were only over by $25. And then in our miscellaneous, I budget like whatever we have left over. I do zero-based budgeting. So that was about $25 a month. And so then we actually spent way over here, $3,000. That's because I'm not good at calculating my miscellaneous spending, because I like to have everything in a bucket, or I like to spend out of this out of the sinking fund so that we don't go over in categories. At the beginning of the year, I wasn't always pulling from our sinking funds when I could have. I was cash flowing a lot of stuff because I'm like, oh, we have extra money coming in. So it was totally fine. But that's why this number looks so much higher than the rest of the numbers, and also like way over what I originally budgeted, because like I said, I was cash flowing quite a few stuff. A lot of that stuff we ended up getting reimbursed for. So again, we weren't like actually in the negative at the end of the year, but seeing that number is like, it made me rethink what I need to put inside of that miscellaneous category in our 2026 annual budget. So yeah, that's just what I will say about that. But with all of that said, that means that we were in the negative by $1,681 in our expenses. All right, I made myself a little smaller and moved myself around so we can see our savings and sinking funds. This is my favorite thing. So at the beginning of the year, our emergency fund budget was only $4,000, and this is because we were just looking to get it to, I think, like $12,000, $13,000. I'm not sure. But we totally changed course, and we decided we needed to get our emergency fund up to $20,000 as fast as we could. And so we actually sent $11,161 to our long-term emergency fund. So that meant we set aside an extra $7,161 into this. And part of the way that we did this was put less to debt, and the other part was covered by our extra income that we made. In our health and wellness, our goal was to get this up to be equal to our high deductibles. So we both have high deductibles. I think mine is like 27 and my husband's is like 32. I just added that together, and we had some money already setting aside in this, and so I was just trying to bring it up to that, and so that was how I got that number. We did spend from it. We spent about $801 from this sinking fund, and I think that was just various medical procedures so that we didn't have to pull out of our HSAs. We want to invest that money and have it continue to grow long term. In our house fund, our goal was to set aside $1,000 each month, and we didn't quite make that, again, because we changed around our priorities, but we were very close. We set aside $11,766, and so we were only below the goal by $233. We did spend $252.37 out of this fund, and I think that was on, we bought a new couch. I don't remember 100% what else we spent from the house fund, but just a couple of things for the house. Our gift savings, we set aside $145 each month, and this is not only for Christmas, but this is also for birthdays, for weddings that we go to, for baby showers, anything like that. Anytime we're buying gifts for our friends, we can pull out of our gift savings. And so we actually spent $1,600 out of this. So we pretty much spent as much as we put in here. Again, that's what sinking funds are for. I'm not really upset about this number. We spent quite a bit on holidays, and I always love doing that because I love to make sure that everyone in my life feels like I am caring about them, especially during the holiday season. Car maintenance. This one is a big one that we set aside every month because out of this comes our car registrations that we have to do annually and our car insurance that we pay on a 6-month basis. So every 6 months we pay for our car insurance. So we set aside $180 and we spent $2,056 from this. So honestly, I thought that was a little bit too close for comfort. So in 2026, I'm upping this to $200 a month that we're setting aside so that we can have a little bit more of an extra buffer just in case like anything really big crazy happens to our cars. We can use this first before dipping into the emergency fund, but I just want to have a little bit more of a buffer on top of that because of how much we spent in this category in the past year. In our vacations, I think I averaged that I wanted to put aside $300 a month. We actually set aside $4,668. A lot of this was from our interest that we were making from our high yield savings account because at the beginning of the year, we were putting all of that interest into our Mexico sinking fund because we were wanting to try and get that up till we went to Mexico in September of last year, and it was such a fun trip. We spent $4,312.42 on vacations last year, which is a lot, but we also did quite a bit. So we went to New York, we went to Mexico, we went to the beach. We did quite a bit of stuff last year, and it was all really fun. I also had several work trips. I don't put my work trips in vacations because most of the time, everything that I put on my work trip gets reimbursed, which is nice. Travel is expensive. As you can see, like only setting aside $300 a month would not have gotten us to what we actually spent out of this. So I may also need to reevaluate how much we put into our vacations, or I need to work on figuring out how to use our points better or whatever, because yeah, that was a lot of money spent on vacations, but we had a fun time. Next up is our annual sub fees or our annual subscriptions. We have a subscription to HBO Max that we pay yearly. We have Ring Insurance, we have AAA, we've got a lot of different ones. And I just like to put aside into an annual sub fees just like one little category so that I don't have to like worry about it and like make tiny little categories for a bunch of stuff. So this is how I do it in my brain. I have a spreadsheet with all my subscriptions. I also have a video that talks about how you can create your own subscription tracker, so I'll also link that down below. It was actually only $14.95, so a little bit less than I originally planned, which is nice. But we did spend $1,331, so we had quite a bit left over in this bucket, which is good because my Chase Sapphire Reserve credit card fee is going from $550 to $795. And I'm not 100% sure if I want to pay that extra $245 for that. So we'll see. Inside of our fund, I never actually set aside a specific number each month because it was really just adding in rollover to this. But we did end up setting aside $1,523 to our fund, and we basically spent all of that. So $1,449.18 was spent out of our fund. This was to cover doing a massage while we were in Mexico, going out to see various concerts, lots of things. Taxes, I also don't have a number here, but we only set aside $126, but we actually had to pay $371 in taxes. So I think I'm gonna need to actually set aside more money for taxes this year. But in our paychecks, I do set aside an extra $50 per paycheck, extra to federal, as well as my husband does that. So between the two of us, we're setting aside $200 extra to this. So hopefully it will cover it because we have to pay taxes on any capital gains from any stock that we sell. If you make money from your high yield savings account, the interest is also taxed. So, you know, there's lots of extra taxes that we have to pay on top of what comes out of our checks. So just having that $200 extra that's coming out of our checks each month is hopefully enough of a buffer so that we don't have to pay out of pocket when it comes to tax time this year. I will let you all know when it comes to tax time if that worked or not, because this is the first year that I've done that for the whole full year. So I'll let you know how that works out and if I have to still continue to pay more extra on top of my taxes. Extra giving was something that we started this year, so that's why I don't have anything here. But we ended up saving $513 for extra giving because there's just a lot going on in our world. And I want to make sure that in the privileged position that I am giving back to people. And so having this sinking fund just really makes me feel good that I can do it without having to worry about breaking my budget or not spending on things that I want to spend on. So that's how I feel about that. And I just really, this year, my word of the year is gratitude. Last year, my word of the year was generosity. And so I really wanted to be generous. This year, with it being gratitude, I just am so grateful for everything that I have. And I just want to make sure that my community is well taken care of as well. So we donate to food banks, we donate to our church, we donate to different organizations that help the local community because I really have a heart for that. I really care. And having the extra money that we do right now when our expenses are so low just means that I can help in ways that other people can't. New Tech was also a new sinking fund that we added, and we only added it about 4 months into the year. So we set aside $100 each month. So in total, we set aside $800, but we spent $2,343 out of this. And that's because of my new laptop, which I talked about last year. My old laptop was dying, even though it was literally like a 2023 laptop, whatever. I don't care. It was so new, but it was still breaking on me. So I just bit the bullet and bought a refurbished MacBook, and I love her. She's been going very strong. So it was well worth the money. We also bought a Steam Deck, and we also bought a BenQ projector. So we did quite a bit of spending in our new tech category. Probably won't be doing that this year because we are trying to move. So we honestly don't need to like bring more stuff into this house because it's just going to be stuff that we're going to have to lug to our new house. So I'm like, I don't really want to do that. In total, out of our sinking funds, we spent $14,520. So that is a lot of extra spending on top of the other expenses that we spend on. And it meant that we saved over $10,000 more than we originally planned for, which is great. Moving on to our investing. So our goal was to max out both of our Roth IRAs, and we did that. Very proud of us for that. And our joint brokerage was to do $10,000, but I just rounded up and did $834 per month, which is why this was $8 over, just because of that little rounding that I did there. Our debt, we wanted to set aside $630 to my husband's student loan number 1, $5,050 to my husband's student loan number 2, because we were planning on paying it off this year, and $6,195 to student loan number 4 to start aggressively paying that off. But as you can see, we actually did not do that. So with our student loan number 1, we actually put more because we started putting aside the minimum plus interest that was accruing each month so that it doesn't accrue more interest. So that was $100 more than we had planned on. But for student loans 2 and 4, we needed to bring money somewhere from our budget to cover all of our extra money that we're putting into savings. And so it came from the debt, which is fine. The student loan number 2 interest rate is 4.8, and the student loan number 4 is 4.05. And then my car loan, we wanted to pay this off, and we did. I was just basing it off of what I assumed would be the total overall value. But of course, there's always going to be a little bit more based on the interest rate, which was 6%. And so it was just 85 cents over, so not too crazy there. And now let's go up and look at some charts. So our budget versus actual. So as you can see, we overspent in literally every single category. But that's good because our long-term savings category, we put aside basically double of what we had said. Our revolving funds, we put aside more. Our investments, we put aside $8 more. And then our debt was the only thing that we spent less in. But that's okay because this is really what I wanted to talk about. My cash flow summary, because this really looks at all of our spending, including all of that $14,000 we spent out of our sinking funds. So our bills was 13.1% of our yearly spending. Our expenses was 18.7%. our long-term savings, so our emergency fund, our house fund, our health and wellness, 10.3%. Our revolving funds, which is our sinking funds, 19.3%. Investments, 17.2%. Debt, 10.8%. And sinking funds, 10.4%. If you look at how much we spent on our bills and our expenses, we were at about 32%. If you think about it in terms of like a 50-30-20 split, where 50% of your money will go to your main expenses, 30% to your wants, and 20% to investing and savings goals, we are not even following that. So spending only about 33% on our expenses over the entire year is really good. And if you add up our long-term savings and our investments, because our revolving funds, we're just saving that up to spend it. I don't really think about that. That still puts our long-term savings and investing at 28%, almost 28% going to that, which is great. And then we didn't put up much to debt, but we did still pay off my cars. This cash flow summary, I think, is the best way to really look at all those numbers and really understand the big picture. Oh my gosh, y'all, I've been talking now for like over 30 minutes. Thank you all so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Let me know down in the comments, how did 2025 go for you? Do you have an annual budget? Let me know all that stuff in the comments down below. Again, my goal is to get to 400 subscribers by the end of January, and I will be doing a Finance Friday video every Friday rest of this month, so look forward to that. As always, please make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye, y'all.